Hey, welcome back to Inside the Pressure Cooker with Chad and Morris. Let's get to it.
What the best thing and the worst thing about being a chef?
Okay. I mean, they're almost the same because the best thing about being a chef is I never worked a day in my life. Right. You know the saying, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Um, and I absolutely loved every day, even the days that I wish I could block out. Um, but every day at work, um, I mean, obviously, you got to be in the right places too, right? You've got to, if you love cooking and you love what you do, and you're just not in the right, but you find yourself hating everything. I mean, you need to, ask yourself, do you really love this? And then the other question is, are you in the right place?
Right.
Um, but I loved the camaraderie. I loved the family because you spend. Here's the pro and the con here. You spend more time with the restaurant and your family and the restaurant than you do with your own family.
Right.
Um, so you better fucking love everybody there
Yeah.
because otherwise you're sacrificing another relationship for the wrong reasons.
Mhm.
Um, I best thing about being a chef is just I loved everything about what I did. Um, in a lot of ways, I had a very fortunate journey. I made a lot of smart decisions. I made a lot of bad decisions. Um, you want me to come sit on your lap?
No, it's my dog.
No, I'll come sit on your lap though.
Sweet.
um, but you can't let that stuff hang on you,
Right.
right? You can't have a really shitty day and just be fuck this, I'm never doing it again, and then bring that to you the next day,
Mhm.
right? Because the next day is going to be totally different, right? You've got to look at that and be like, fuck this, I'm never doing this again, from the mindset of what am I going to do to fix this?
Yeah.
How am I going to make sure this doesn't happen again? Um, and the negatives of being a chef, I mean, it takes its toll on you physically and mentally. Um, it takes its toll on you with time, right? It will consume a lot of your time, both in the restaurant and outside of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Even when I was cooking, like my wife and I, we'd go to restaurants, and I had to get to a point where she actually made me, but I had to sit facing a wall. I was not allowed to face the restaurant. I had to face the wall, and she could see everything else because I would be and like I would be watching everything else
Yeah.
and not her. And it's like, okay, well, that's not fair to her,
Yeah.
right? Um, you laugh because you know exactly what I'm talking
Yeah, I
about.
do.
Um, and the other part is we would also go to restaurants. We were always going to new restaurants, which is not a bad thing. Um, but we were always studying the restaurants,
Yeah.
right? What we'd order food, different things. She would sit down and she'd be like, "Okay, what am I ordering?"
Yeah.
I was like, um, so that I mean that was fun, but that once again you're out of work, but now you're still working.
Yeah.
Um, and she didn't mind any part of that because we traveled for food. We'd go I mean, New York, Chicago. Um, we'd go for the weekend and just to go eat.
Right.
So there's no complaints there. But once again, it did take a lot out of me. And so sometimes you'd come home, you did not want to be engaging with your family,
Yeah.
right? You just like, I just need some time. Um, but you know, I think the other part that's hard is because it's so in time consuming.
Mm,
Where I failed is I did not find an appropriate hobby that allowed me to de-stress or unwind
right.
in a more positive way.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been down there too.
Yeah, and I mean, but honestly, like you understand, you've got your family, you've got kids, and you've got a job, and your career. You can't. It's not a job. I'm sorry, it's a career, and it's a passion. You don't just go to it. You don't just clock in, clock out, go home, and then everything's gone, right? Um, it, they're long days, they're long shifts, they're long weeks, right?
Mm,
And then when you come home, everything's still waiting for you.
yeah.
You still have to be involved with your kids. You still have to be involved with your wife. I mean, I you still have to make food or do shopping or take care of the house.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much of your personal life too, and then when you add that family element to it, it adds on.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're just wondering. It's like, dude, where's the time for me?
Yeah.
It's incredibly selfish to ask that question, especially since you're in a career that's incredibly selfish in the fact that you're committing so much time away from everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like now you want to take more time away from them so you can focus on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the only bad part. But that didn't come on until later.
Yeah. No, I agree. Uh, Probably the best part was um, like building a culture. So the people, and
Yeah.
I was looking back on when I was an executive chef was, I barely remember any of the dishes I made. I really, I don't. Sometimes the guys that I still work with from that time, they'll remind me. I'm like, oh shit, I did make that, but I don't remember the dishes all that much. I remember the times that we had and the culture that we built.
Hmm.
The camaraderie and the respect and the accountability that everybody had for each other. Like we built a really positive place, and that's probably the thing that I was most proud of. So I'd say that's the best thing. The worst thing is probably exactly what you said. Like it just sometimes it takes so much out of you that you're just a shell. And when at really inconvenient times when you need to be more present,
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably the worst one.
Yeah, no, I like your answer there as far as the positive creating that culture. Because you're right. I mean, especially into that, being able to really create something like, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And uh, yeah, that's fun. And not a lot of people get to experience that either.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's hmm, huh, huh. What else you got? Is that all for the questions?
that's all for the questions.
Well, Morris,
Chef.
I don't really have any other questions myself.
Well, that's all right.
Well, I think we covered quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um, what would we? I'm trying to think of any of the other spots. I mean, there's your typical like, no, but you kind of hit pet peeves and There's a lot of generalized things there. And we don't need to get into the guest relation part because that's more of like that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's a whole nother topic. Yeah, we can save that one for another time. Because then I was like, man, your favorite server comments or or questions. Let's do that. Let's do that one real quick. Go. What some of your favorite server questions?
And I don't even know that it was questions. It would be the servers that would just walk by and just say really stupid things. Or like if I'm shucking corn and a server walks by and they're like, "What are you doing?" Shucking fucking corn. Or even worse, what's that?
Oof.
Yeah, yeah, we had a couple of those servers walk by. There's a gallon of mayonnaise sitting on the table. Like, what's that? Mustard.
Yeah, some of my favorites were this one event kind of sums up so many other times I've seen this. This was a regular menu item. It wasn't a special. We'd been the restaurant. It was operating for it didn't just open yesterday, and this server had been apart for a long time as well. And there was just a once again unmodified dish ready to go out, and she walks up and she's like, "What is that?" Like, and points at it in like with like the same like, "What is that?" And like then all of a sudden silence. And me and the Sue just kind of stopped and turned around. We're like, "Oh my god!" It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Bill Morris, this has been a great Q&A session.
I had a good.
We'll start writing some more questions down. And for everybody out there listening, if you've got a question, email it, right? Go to the show notes. There's a couple, it's not that far down. You'll see where it probably says like resources. And it'll have links to Instagram. Yeah, I think just our Instagram page. There's also an email on there. All right. Shoot us an email. Let me know what do you want to hear from us. And then lastly, let us know how everything's going. Um, love to hear some feedback, as well as any ideas for shows, or if you're like, hey, motherfucker, I want to be on the show.
Yeah.